Ah, post-COVID blues. If only AC/DC made an extension of their song Satellite Blues, then maybe we won't be so blue in this circumstance. There might be some other blue-related instances that I'm forgetting about. Eiffel 65's blue does spring to mind instantly, as does the sky. Now, how to weave those into something that makes sense at the beginning? Really limited myself here. Well, what I'm trying to say is people are apparently very blue about the fact that COVID has now finished and it has drained them of their very spiritual essence that separates us from all the animals that don't have spirits, which, if you are to believe anything other than Princess Mononoke, is everything. Oh, come on, as if they know more than they're Christians. Look, damn Japanese pagans. Like this video if you think they're full of shit. I think when it comes to the idea that you are drained from COVID, who isn't? To be honest, through the Hellraiser year that I had, I gotta say, the most draining part was COVID. And so I do empathise a lot with all of you locked down in Victoria, thanks to Dictator Dan, who, no, that's obviously a joke for all the morons going, that finally sees the light. I don't see the light. I want to stay in the damn dark ages. I would prefer being in Victoria, by the way. All these post-COVID lockdown law of like, oh, who's got all of these laws that are really bad? Why? Because Sky News says they're bad? Yeah. You realise that they're nowhere near as draconian as what New South Wales has implemented or federal. In fact, it's just a better implemented version of that with more checks and balances and actually has a bureaucracy looking over it. Shut the fuck up! Anyway, I don't know what that has to do with it anymore. It's just my usual little tick of like, no, Anastasia Palaszczuk is a very good premier. In fact, I would go as far as to say competent. Here's what the nut of it is. Yes, everyone on Earth, I think at this point, feels a little bit drained by COVID. Except for Dictator Dad! But everyone else feels drained by it. And can you blame us? No, you can't, because as I just mentioned, if you aren't Daniel Andrews, you are engulfed in everyone else. And so, you have something to overcome in the sense that once you have repleted from that, it's very hard to get yourself back into fighting form if you weren't able to do it for whatever reason. Say you lost your job, say that you were at home and you were away from the rest of your co-workers, and so that classic dog-packed spirit wasn't there because you were separated from the rest of your packs. And you are all filthy little dogs with the same mentality, and that's why you listen to me tell you how to run your life, which is why you should sign up to Jordan Shanks so you can get even more burrowed into the cult. And also, you will be getting a bunch of information that will put you back on the track of what I'm saying now, which is that once you have lost motivation, it can feel like you are wading through mud. Life becomes harder because instead of just getting that nice little Mario Star boost, you get the banana thing of whoa, whoa, whoa. And then from there, as you know, as you've probably played Mario Kart, because I'm assuming that you're from Gen Y or Gen Z, you have to gain speed again. But you've already lost your place as well. Yeah, that's right. Life is exactly like Mario Kart. That's why it's just so drawing, isn't it? But you go around the loop a few times, you get back on track, but the point is that you had lost major grounds that you had when you had that little scar at your shield, which is exactly what this person is saying, that they were feeling like they had really turned a corner in their life as a result of these videos. Thank you very much. And they've been doing their degree and they've been doing a lot of work and they had been building up all of that momentum, and then all of a sudden it was taken away for external factors, which is just life. That is definitely what happens. And what I will say is that if you are committed to whatever you are doing in life, you can get that momentum again. It will just naturally reoccur because life kind of goes in cycles, and a really big part of self-help is kind of actually like being a stand-up comedian, in that a good stand-up comedian is just able to perform well every night. Sometimes, very, very rarely do they start bombing because they're just ahead of that. They have the skills to get themselves out of that situation and keep the energy going, right? And then you obviously have your peaks, but your troughs aren't that big anymore. And that's the same with you. That is the same with you. With any skill that you are doing, what you want is this most of your life. And so what self-help does is kind of identify when you're in this and tries to get you out of it as quickly as possible so you can have more of this, which really is mostly what you can hope for in life, which is just a steady trajectory of gradual increase. That's what you want. And so when you have these situations, I think that what's happened, and I gotta say, you're not gonna like me about this, but I think you're pretty shit, frankly. I know that you're shit. I just think that, yes, life inevitably has those troughs, but one of the major points of self-help is that when you're in that trough, do some cave exploring. You know, whatever life throws at you, you are supposed to make it into lemonade. So life, theoretically in that point, threw a bunch of lemons at you while you were in that trough. So you were just in that baby ball pit. And then you climbed your way out of it. And granted, you had a lot of lemon juice in your eyes. You're probably blind now. But the point is you got out. That's what it's all about. It is about trying to find whatever the situation you are in and having this overall mental framework to get you out of it as quickly as possible, which is what you're doing now. So after 2 years of lockdown, you feel like you're in that trough. You're not alone. Like this video if you're with him. And what I want to give you is a major plot point. This is crucial to getting yourself out of these situations. And that is, once you feel like you're in that trough, what you have to do is you have to sit down and you have to plan how you want your life story to go from there. So this person, let me just read it out because they've given themselves quite a good story. No offense, Charlie O, but you made yourself a target by putting yourself here. You know, after about 200 videos on this channel, that sometimes, very, very rarely, I read them out. So you were caught in this, I think, 2% off chance of me actually targeting in on you. Suck shit. I hope that you unsubscribe after this out of shame. You really should. Pretty much because of, again, external factors that you can't control. But pretty much he was saying he was really happy with how life was going, very passionate, engaged, trying to make a difference, contribute to society. And then after 2 years of lockdown, he felt the joy and passion drained out of his life. Any advice for how to get motivation, improve himself, and contribute to the world would be appreciated. Well, that's great. Glad to hear it, Charlie. Not glad to hear that you're in the lull. Actually, no, I'm pretty glad about it because you've given me a video. Thank you. Look, here's the shovel that I would give you. What you have written about your life there was an interesting story beforehand. Clearly, you wrote the story of you being on the up. What has happened in your mind because of COVID is that because the story was... let's use this instead, the classic, right? Let's use the classic. The map of what is in your head is not matching the terrain. Obviously, because it matched no one on Earth's terrain except that lab in China. Everyone else had to deal with those fucking communist dogs' mess, right? And so you're caught in that same whirlpool that the rest of the world is, except for obviously Zoom and a bunch of other corporations like that did really, really well, again, because they're adaptable to the environment around them. Now, with you, what has happened there is you have written a really good story about where you were going before. What has happened is because that map stopped going, you started going, no, there's supposed to be a hill over there. And instead, there's just a pit of piranhas. Oh, me nuts. No, who'd have thought the piranha snap? You obviously got on a detour. What is going to have to happen now is you are going to have to rewrite the map in your head, which really means rewriting the story because, and this is something that wigs me out, it really scares me. You want to know what it is? Well, you're going to have to sign up to Jordan Shanks because there's a part 2 in it. No, I won't do that. Can you imagine if I just stopped it right there? Sign up for the actual information. 9 minutes of waffling here, 2 minutes of actual content. $2! Seriously though, I do think that you should sign up to it. That's just my $2. But yeah, so when you are in that, now that you have that map's useless. You're going to have to write a new one. Story, and I've discussed this before, but stories are pretty much how you perceive reality. And you can't escape that. The human mind is constantly trying to give itself stories to make sense of what it's seeing, because let's be honest, it doesn't really understand what it's seeing. Even me, who spends my entire life on this white wall in self-contained solitary confinement, I don't know how the fuck any of this stuff's actually made. I know how to turn on the light, but how does the light work? I suppose I could go on YouTube and find it. But then I bet you, as like with everything else, when you look at all the nerd comments in there, there's going to be a bunch of disagreements, and most people will have these. It'll get to a point where people will have unsolved mysteries about how any technology actually operates. Yeah? So even if they understand the electricity, yeah, but where do all those components that make the light bulb come from? You are just so interdependent so that you just have to come up with a bunch of stories and ignore a bunch of information that is currently flooding into your mind. Because of COVID, because of the map not working the way that you wanted it to work, you have determined in your mind that instead of being this hero, you are now being a victim. You're a pussy. Suck it up, cunt. Thanks for watching for so many years. But that is what happens, and everybody goes into these. Everybody falls in and out of these character tropes, yeah? They fall out of being the hero, they put themselves into the victim, but the people that truly do succeed in life, that truly have an impact, are the ones that spend very little time licking their wounds, and they move themselves back into hero. And that is purely just because they rewrite the story in their head. Now, some people just naturally do this and don't have to be told to do it. Other people do have to actually learn this, like myself, because I'm a dummy, and so I have to constantly do that to myself. What I want you to do is you have to write down a compelling new story about yourself. How do you do it? The first one is you write down why you are in the lull at the moment. So you have an idea of what your story is. Why are you in that lull? The next one, as always, ideally, where are you going to go from here? When you write that down, you will notice something miraculous. You will notice that whatever you write down, you will see that it's actually a lot more achievable than what you thought it was. Those are your two things. Everybody should be doing this, because I imagine that these post-COVID blues are quite more contagious than COVID. Huh? I think we've all got that one. No one's talking about that. Should send that into Sky News. Tune in next week, where I'll be abandoning Friendly Geordies and be on the After Dark slot that Alan Jones just ceded. Anyway, thank you very much. Make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks. You will not regret it. No one ever regrets it. The amount of people that go off of the Patreon of Jordan Shanks, so minuscule. It's even smaller than Friendly Geordies, because that's always, oh, you said something that doesn't line exactly in my map. Fuck you. Unsubscribe. Very rarely happens with Jordan Shanks, because of the value that you get. Look, you can spend that same $5 on something extremely frivolous that will make your life worse, and you know you will. You may as well just give it to me. So just let me hold on to it, okay? Let me hold on to it. Think about that, though. You'll probably put that $5 into something that is worse for your life, or you could give it to me, and I'll make your life better. That's right. Old Geordie's here. I definitely will. But that's what I want you to do, for free. Everybody, write it down now. Why do you think that your life isn't going the way that it is currently? Ideally, how would your life be going? That is the story that you want to start focusing on, so that you can just condition your brain, tune it. That's what I want to be looking at more. Focus on that. I'll see you later. Like and subscribe.